Dear Simon.
Welcome back to the Love, Simon universe. It's all right here where you left it. The joy and pain of self-discovery.
Who are you, Victor?
The contemplative synth-pop soundtrack. The overly verbose correspondence to strangers.
Honestly, this message kind of got away from me, and you probably think I'm totally insane.
In the new spin-off series Love, Victor, now streaming on Hulu, high school sophomore Victor navigates the choppy waters of his social, romantic, and family life as he comes to terms with his queer identity.
I'm breaking down all 10 episodes of Love, Victor because it's Pride Month, there's a pandemic on, and I'm afraid to go outside. In this recap and review series, I'll be indulging in spoilers only up to the episode being discussed. So if you're in the middle of watching the season, you don't have to worry about spoilers for future episodes. Standing on the shoulders of essential coming-of-age queer films like Edge of 17, But I'm a Cheerleader, and Moonlight, Love, Simon made history in spring 2018 as the first film by a major Hollywood studio to focus on a gay teen romance. The film earned $40 million domestic and $66 million worldwide. Expanding the franchise became inevitable. In April 2019, Disney Plus greenlit the spin-off series Love, Victor, which would follow a new romantic hero at Creekwood High who reaches out to Simon as he struggles with his own sexual identity. Though the entire season was produced with the intent of distributing it on Disney Plus, the series was moved to Hulu mere months before the premiere, ostensibly because some of the more mature skewing content didn't pass muster with Mickey Mouse. I'm happy to report that Love, Victor boasts many of the strengths that I personally adored about Love, Simon. At the same time, it also features some of the same missteps and limitations. The mainstreaming of queer-themed storytelling is a double-edged sword.
Hey, can you cheer up?
So buckle up for a sometimes bumpy but overall endearing Ferris wheel ride. A huge part of Love, Victor's appeal is its winning ensemble cast. As the pilot takes Victor through his first day at a new school, meeting the classmates that will become his new friends, antagonists, and romantic interests.
Hi, I'm Mia.
Victor.
Michael Cimino establishes Victor as super charismatic and relatable, which is a harder feat to pull off than it might seem. Victor and Simon are Nick Carraway-type characters, whose main tendencies are to sit back and observe.
Simon means the one who hears, and Spear means the one who sees.
They're usually driven to action by forces of circumstance or the more active characters around them.
You just gotta show everyone it was a one-off, and no better way to do that than to hit up the Winter Carnival.
To make this kind of character work, you need an actor who can express a multifaceted interiority and keep it compelling. Cimino, who only gets better as the season progresses, exudes those empathetic leading man qualities with charm and affability to spare. He plays every moment to emphasize a sense of discovery, and whether those discoveries intrigue him, unnerve him,
Oh, hey Benji.
or a little bit of both, he makes it easy for us to say, ugh, same. Other out-of-the-gate MVPs who we'll discuss more in future episodes include Rachel Hilson as the princess of Creekwood High, Mia Brooks, and Anthony Turple as eager best friend Felix, who, with his quirky try-hard energy and arcane references, seems like he was designed to be a more sympathetic version of Martin from the original film.
There's a really thin line between laughing with someone and laughing at someone, and you are that line.
The scenes that introduce Victor's parents and siblings do feel somewhat stilted and uncertain.
Say goodbye to your boyfriend. I'm trying to have a nice family moment here.
My kidnappers are making me hang up.
The show's otherwise solid editing and direction seem a little imprecise in these scenes,
Nice sunlight.
allowing for a low and kind of awkward energy in the Salazar household. One could argue that it fits, since, as it turns out, this is the sort of family where things left unsaid gnaw at the foundation of their dynamic.
Is everything okay between you and Dad?
More likely, I'll just chalk it up to first episode growing pains. It takes these actors a few episodes to cohere into a believable family unit, but by season's end, they get there.
Thank you.
And while I enjoyed seeing Andy Richter as the hapless basketball coach, and especially the return of Natasha Rothwell as the drama teacher turned vice principal,
You know, it reminded me of my first kiss, which was also with a gay boy.
the portrayal of the Creekwood faculty is becoming a little one note for my taste. The grown-ups that populate the school seem to be portrayed as perpetually sad and low status, each with a dark cloud of regret hanging over their entire existence. It was funny in the movie,
I was an extra in The Lion King, and this is where I am.
but feels stale by the time we get to the show.
I also coach varsity basketball.
Cool.
Is it cool? I've been doing it for 24 years, and I have 0 championships under my belt.
And in some cases, this approach wastes some serious talent. But even these one-dimensional portrayals feel written with heart. Overall, I enjoy the emotionally generous tone and spirit of the Simon Victor-verse. In both the show and the film, the writers seem to want the best for every character, and this kind of empathetic storytelling, when done with clarity and concision, can lead to a rewarding viewing experience, especially in the context of Love, Victor being a family-friendly show that aims to acknowledge multiple perspectives that might orbit someone living a queer experience. Of course, that desire to acknowledge everyone in the room can lead to narrative dilution. It's a tricky balancing act to tell the story of underrepresented people and the more privileged people in their lives. Just like Love, Simon, Love, Victor sometimes stumbles in this department and sometimes soars. Through the course of the season, I'll keep parsing out this tension surrounding the mainstreaming of queer storytelling. All I'll say now is that Victor offers Simon a bold declaration, one that reverberates through the entire season.
My story is nothing like yours.
Conflicted over his burgeoning attraction to guys, and in particular this guy, Victor slides into Simon's DMs in a hilariously long-winded message that's also kind of rude.
I just want to say, screw you.
And so begins the penpal setup that serves as a framework for the rest of the show. While this setup requires us to buy into the idea of Simon mentoring a total stranger on a long-term basis, it retains the lovely epistolary nature of Love, Simon, and also tantalizes us with the prospect of expanding what the franchise can become. I enjoyed Love, Simon because it was so mainstream, and as a basic gay who grew up reciting lines from blockbuster rom-com narratives like Friends,
we were on a break!
Clueless.
After that, Dion's virginity went from technical to non-existent.
I relished finally being able to see something remotely resembling my queer experience, given that Hollywood treatment of lush production values, witty one-liners, a charismatic cast, gorgeous domestic interiors, and a fairy tale-like outcome. Those wish fulfillment aspects can feel like much-needed chicken soup for the queer soul, as well as a starter pack for would-be allies who yearn to connect on some level with the LGBT+ people that they care about. But given the accessibility and high profile of this franchise, those safe elements run a risk of shielding a wide audience from, and maybe even misinforming them about, the contours of queer life that don't intersect so easily with the ideals of white middle-class suburbia. The pilot of Love, Victor does a tremendous job of teeing up so much of the socioeconomic and identity-based forces that may impact Victor's journey down the road. His cultural background,
Bendición.
his religious background,
If I were Jesus, where would I want to be to watch over this family?
his family's attitudes towards queerness,
Nobody seems a little flojito.
their economic anxieties,
Wait, it's $500 to join the team?
the burden of casual racism,
And they said I look like Dora if she was exploring a thrift store.
as well as the idea that, unlike Simon, Victor may be attracted to more than one gender.
Would you want to ride the Ferris wheel with me?
If handled with care, any single one of these elements can provide fertile ground to open up the storytelling possibilities beyond what we saw in Love, Simon. There's so much more space in 10 episodes of TV to go deeper than a brisk 2-hour movie ever could. And with the show teasing us with a more nuanced portrayal of teen queerness, I was left wondering, who's the real love interest here? Slow motion, hair-flicking Benji is the obvious choice, but is he just a red herring? Could Victor's romantic destiny point towards sweet, introspective Mia after all? Or even newly minted BFF Felix?
I stood outside your door for 5 minutes before knocking. I didn't want to seem too eager.
What kept me watching through this season of Love, Victor, aside from the lovable characters, was this question. To what degree would this show embrace the kind of messy unpredictability that so often defines queer life?
Please just stop talking.
That's all for now. If you're down to go with me on this Ferris wheel ride, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. And to get notified when the next Love, Victor recap and review drops, hit that notification bell. Also, drop me a line at cj@cjarellano.com or leave a comment to discuss your favorite rom-com coming-of-age trope.
Is it staring wistfully at your bedroom ceiling? 30-year-old screenwriters letting you know that they're hip with the lingo?
Are you cuffed?
Cuff?
In a relationship. Did you move here from 1984?
Or prolonged gawking that appears to go unnoticed by immediate bystanders? Vote now!